Casey Anthony strutted away from her meeting with her case manager at the jail today. This time, no big sunglasses, but very heavy eye makeup. Her attorney hopes to convince Circuit Judge Stan Strickland on Friday to allow Casey to travel secretly to places of interest in this case to, quote, assist with the search of missing child Caylee Anthony. One of the reasons Casey is on house arrest for child neglect is because she did nothing to find her daughter and apparently still hasn't.
You were just seeing a shot from today. Mom Casey Anthony going to her home confinement meeting. We are taking your calls live. A lot of developments. Texas EquiSearch has now announced it is ready to resume searching for little Caylee. Also tonight, we learned that Mom Casey Anthony has petitioned the court to travel secretly to places of interest in the investigation. She now says she wants to search for little Caylee. Is it true, to Natisha Lance, our producer, who has been in Orlando from the get-go? Natisha, why doesn't she go to any of the vigils?
Well, Nancy, it's a safety concern. There are protesters out there, and they do not want to expose Casey to the wrath of these protesters who have been outside. So she is inside the house watching, but not participating in the vigils.
Another motion has been filed to get access to any and all polygraphs that have been administered in this case and any polygraphs that will be administered in the future. The defense also wants the history of the polygraph machine itself. Let's go to the polygraph expert, Jack Trimarco. He's the former FBI polygraph unit chief in L.A. Jack, thank you for being with us. What do they mean when they say they want the records on the polygraph machine itself?
Nancy, as a many-time visitor to your show over the years, I'd like to do something I've never done before, and that is deflect your question for a moment. One of the defense attorneys made a comment about the honesty of Leonard Padilla, and I'd like to just say that from 1978 to 1981, I worked many fugitive cases with Leonard Padilla. I was a young FBI agent then, and when Leonard Padilla gives you his word or says something on the record, you take it to the bank. He's one of the most honest people I know.
Okay, can we talk about the polygraph now?
Polygraph, I'm ready.
You should probably say that for a eulogy or the Kiwanis Award. Let's get down to the brass tacks.
Hey, it is what it is.
This case.
It is what it is.
I want to know about the polygraph now. I want to find out about why they have petitioned to get the records. It's like you're getting the records on a car. When you buy your car over at CarMax and you want to find out when it's been lubed, what do they want to find out about the polygraph machine itself?
Well, first of all, who took the polygraph? I haven't heard that anybody's taken a polygraph test. First and foremost, who took the polygraph?
Do I need to ask the cop?
Secondly,
can you just tell me why you want records on a polygraph machine?
Secondly, we want to know, did the police do the polygraph or did a private attorney do the polygraph? All the difference in the world. If the police did it, you're blowing in the wind. You're not going to get anything. This is an ongoing investigation. There aren't going to be any reports that are turned over by emotion, blowing in the wind. If it's a private attorney who has had his client polygraphed, then it's attorney-client privilege. You're still not going to get anything. So I have no idea what they're doing.
The deputy chief at Bergen County Sheriff's Office, what would an attorney hope to gain by asking for the records on a polygraph machine?
Well, they're going to want to look at the, first of all, the certification of the polygraph examiner. They're going to look at the equipment itself. Has it been calibrated, the software, the use, the procedure? They're going to want to try to challenge the expert opinion, because remember, polygraph isn't a lie detector test. It's a physiological measurement of a person's response to the stress of lying. So they're going to want to challenge that particular polygraph expert's opinion and interpretation of those physiological responses that the subject made, whether they said they were truthful or untruthful or inconclusive. They're going to try to challenge that.
Out to the lines to Kelly in Indiana. Hi, Kelly.
Hi, Nancy. Nice to talk to you.
Likewise. What's your question, dear?
I have two quick questions. Why did Universal Studios fire Casey 2 years ago? And then lastly, why wasn't a police sketch ever done of Zenaida Gonzalez?
Okay. Let's go to Drew Petrimo. Do we know why Universal fired her?
I don't think we do. And as far as the sketches of Zenaida Gonzalez, one interesting thing about that is I believe there was a sketch or at least a photo lineup presented to Casey Anthony in the very beginning of the case, and she actually wasn't able to pick out the Zenaida Gonzalez that we all know now, the one that was on your show a couple nights ago. So that hasn't been talked about much, but that's another interesting part of this whole case.
To Natisha Lance, any idea why Universal fired Mom Casey Anthony?
Made available at this point. But going back to Zenaida Gonzalez, there has not been a sketch release at this point because police do not want to send people out on a wild goose chase. Say they give a sketch based on what Casey has said, which most of the things that she said have been lies at this point. They put that out there and they could possibly go after the wrong person.
Let's unleash the lawyers. Susan Moss, Richard Herman, Joe Lawless. Back to Richard Herman. Also, Richard, wouldn't you, as a defense attorney, use it at trial when a murder case finally happens, if it ever happens, that the police are putting out a sketch for the kidnapper this far into the investigation, that they, even at this point in the investigation, believe it's just a kidnapping?
Yes, Nancy, of course. I would use that any way I could to try to discredit the investigation.
What about it, Lawless?
I think what they're trying to do is get evidence or discovery now for an eventual murder case. I think some of it's going to be relevant in the current charges, but I definitely think they're looking for evidence for, I think, a murder charge that's going to come.
Susan?
Zanny Nanny, if you were to put out a sketch of Zenaida Gonzalez, somebody who is innocent might get hurt.
To Stacy Kaiser, psychotherapist, joining us tonight from L.A., we now see Mom Casey Anthony chafing at the bit at house arrest. How do you read it?
You know, I read it a couple of ways. It is possible that she's trying to sort of establish herself as suddenly interested. It's also possible that she's been trying to protect herself all along. Maybe she gave her daughter to someone, maybe she knows her whereabouts, and maybe she's been concerned about her own safety, or she's been threatened, and now with the cloak of protection is willing to go search for her daughter.
Caylee is missing. Casey, she'd be standing right here by all of us. She'd be out searching if she could.
You said that sister told you that because I'm a spiteful bitch.
Mm-hmm.
And did she yell that so Mom could hear it, or she just whispered that to you, or what was it?
She didn't whisper it. She didn't also say it necessarily, make it a point to say it as loud so my mom can hear it. When I asked her, why won't you, allow us to see Caylee, and she said, well, maybe I'm a spiteful bitch.
Tonight, motions filed by the defense for Mom Casey Anthony demanding the court allow her off-house arrest to travel freely and in secret. To our producer, Ellie Jostad. Ellie, explain to me what the other motions are.
The other motions that they've asked for, I think the most significant is they've asked to see the chloroform, DNA, and hair evidence that was allegedly found in Casey Anthony's car. They also want one of their experts to be allowed to also independently look at that car, and they want all the computer and cell phone records.
Let me go back to the lawyers regarding these motions. What do you make of them, Susan Moss?
As Jose would say, she hasn't been charged yet in the disappearance of Caylee, so I think most of these motions are premature.
Premature, so they're not ripe yet. Let's go to Lawrence Kobylinski, famed forensic scientist. The search is about to resume for Caylee. What can you expect to find at this juncture, Doctor?
Well, if in fact Caylee is deceased, and it has been so many months now, I would expect that the body would be decomposed to a different extent depending upon the environmental conditions. But maybe the child is alive. We don't know.